We now want to get a little bit of practice multiplying fractions. So here's the first problem that we will look at. 2/5 times 2/3. So you may want to pause the video and work it out. This problem doesn't simplify in any way, but I want to first look at this in terms of the geometry. If this were a 1 by 1 block, we would have an area of 1. What the multiplication says is we are taking 2/5 of one side, maybe about that large, and we're taking 2/3 of the other side, about that large. When we multiply them together, we get an area that looks like this. And the area that we get is significantly less than 1. That should make sense because if we take these, we go to multiply this out. I'm going to write down what we're thinking, which we don't need to write, but which you should be thinking. Since nothing simplifies, there are no ways to associate the 5, the 2, or the 2 and the 3 to make this into a simpler problem. We simply want to multiply the two numbers in the numerator together and the two numbers in the denominator together, and that will give us 4 in the numerator and 15 in the denominator, which, if we look at that, since 5/15 would be a third, this is less than 1/3 of 1. When you look at the picture below, it's pretty clear that the area will be less than 1/3. Let's consider another problem. Instead of 2/5, let's go with 3/5 times 2/3. If we want to do this multiplication, it will be actually much simpler than the last one. In this case, we can associate the 3's together, and so what we can do is we should be thinking that we're associating the 3 divided by 3 and then the 2 divided by 5. Since 3 divided by 3 is just the identity, the multiplicative identity of 1, our answer will simply be 2/5. Let's quickly check to make sure this makes sense. If we look at the area, if this were a 1 by 1 block, if I were to multiply a height of 3/5, might be about that big, 2/3 might be about that big, and if I fill in the area, if you take the area that isn't shaded in, it looks like you have more than half of it not in the block. The value A would represent less than half, which would make sense since our answer came out to be 2/5, which should be less than 1/2. So the answer does make sense geometrically as well. Let's consider one final problem. This one will involve mixed numbers. Let's take 2 and 2/3 times 4 and 1/3. Now this one illustrates why we do not want to use mixed numbers when we're doing multiplication. If we were doing addition, thinking of 2 and 2/3 as 2 plus 2/3, and thinking of 4 and 1/3 as 4 plus 1/3, would make this a fairly easy problem because 2/3 plus 1/3 is 1. 2 plus 4 is 6, and so we would get an answer of 7 if we were to add the mixed numbers. But that's not what we're asked to do in this problem. We're asked to multiply. If I want to multiply, I definitely do not want to have the mixed numbers because I would have to multiply 2 terms times 2 terms and use the distributive property. So let's convert 2 and 2/3 into just a fraction. So we want to take the 2 and consider that to be, you wouldn't have to necessarily write all of this out, but 2 would be the equivalent to, I'll write this over again, 6/3 plus 2/3. And then we will multiply that times 4 1/3, and 4 would be 12/3 plus 1/3. What I've shown in blue is usually just done in your head. 6/3 plus 2/3 would give us a total of 8/3. 12/3 plus 1/3 would be 13/3. Neither 8 or 13 has a factor of 3 in it, so all we can do is multiply the numerator together and get 104, and take the denominator, multiply the 3 times the 3 and get 9. And if you were to consider that the answer is clearly going to be larger than, a little bit bigger than 10, which should make sense because we took a number, if we simply looked at 2 times 4, we get 8. So when we multiply 2 and 2/3 times 4 and 1/3, those are both a little bit bigger. So our answer comes out to be a little bit bigger than 10 or 11. Hopefully this was helpful. And remember, when working with mixed numbers for multiplication, convert those into rational numbers or sort of standard fractions like 8/3 and 13/3. When you're doing addition, you can add up the integer part of the mixed number and the fractional part of the mixed number separately, and it will be just as easy to do that.